When Pac-Man World Re-Pac was announced, it was nowhere to be found on my Nintendo Direct bingo card. I thought we'd be stuck with this version of Pac-Man forever. I was probably more excited for this game than I should have been, and that's okay, because I grew up on Pac-Man World 2 and 3 on the Gamecube, and I even played Pac-Man World Rally. But the original Pac-Man World always eluded me, mainly because it was a PS1 exclusive, and well, I didn't have a PS1 growing up. Since I never played Pac-Man World, that means I can talk about this game from a pretty objective point of view. No nostalgia goggles here, and to be honest with you, I really enjoyed this game. Pac-Man World is as simple of a 3D platformer as you can get. You control Pac-Man in a semi-3D environment, and your goal is to make it to the end of the level while collecting as many hidden fruits and collectibles as you can along the way. Pretty straightforward formula. It's one of those games everyone should just be able to pop in and jump right into for some mindless fun. But this game isn't all about 3D platforming and just collecting some fruit. There's actually a really dramatic story to go along with it. At the start of the game, we're greeted by a cutscene fit for a Pac King. It's time for Pac-Man's birthday celebration, and all of his friends and family have worked hard to prepare a surprise birthday party for him. The four ghosts show up to the scene with the intention of stealing Pac-Man, but because they're so stupid, they kidnap everyone else in Pac Village instead. I just think this scene is just funny, you know, that the ghosts show up to the Pac Village and they're just kind of like, there's more than one. Guess we'll take the dog? I don't know what to, I guess we'll just take all of them? With their classic cartoon villain methods, the ghosts then grab everybody one by one, from Pac Dog to Pac Baby to Puka. Okay, Puka is not a Pac-Man character, he is a Dig Dug enemy. To Pac Professor, to Pac-Man Jr., to Pac Mom. Okay, she is not a Pac-Man character either. She is less of a Pac-Man character than Puka. Come on, what happened to Miss Pac-Man, you know? Sure, I know there's an ongoing copyright dispute over Miss Pac-Man, but they need to at least address where she went in the story, because Pac-Mom is obviously not Miss Pac-Man. There needs to be some sort of in-game explanation for why it's Pac-Mom and not Miss Pac-Man. I'm thinking, now hear me out, I'm thinking Pac-Man cheated on Miss Pac-Man with Pac-Mom. That sounds plausible to me. I'm gonna go with that. That's my new theory. After the ghosts have taken away every Pac person, Pac-Man comes home to a horrific scene. Birthday decorations strewn about, an empty Pac-Man village. An invitation to Ghost Island to meet the real Pac-Man live and in person falls from the sky. And it's at this moment that Pac-Man, and by extension the player, knows what needs to be done. And with our new heroic motive in mind, we are thrown right into the platforming world of Pac-Man World Re-Pac. Right out of the gate, when we're thrown into the hub world, we have 3 worlds open to us: the pirate world, the hidden temple world, and the space world. We can choose to complete them in any order we want, which I think is pretty neat, but the only issue with this is that it doesn't really feel like there's a real difficulty progression between these 3 worlds. Each one feels kind of like it's on the same part of the difficulty scale. At least they all feel pretty distinct thematically. Hopping through the dark caverns of a hidden temple feels a lot different from eating fruit in outer space. The themes aren't just diverse, they're extremely charming. I especially love the spooky vibe of the last world. The ghostly mansion is depicted exactly how I would imagine the ghost's home to really look. Every one of these worlds has a different Pac friend for us to rescue. In order to do so, we need to find the hidden key within the level and then use it to break them out of their cages. I love how whenever you rescue one of your friends, they're like, okay, cool, thanks, bye, and then they blast off like a rocket ship. You end up saving Pac-Mom and she's like, ooh, thanks, Pac-Man, you've earned a kiss. But not now! Difficulty-wise, this game is pretty forgiving. When you die, you get to keep all of your collectibles when you come back. Does that make the game a little too easy? Depends on who you ask. But I will say that this function actually does break the game in some ways. For example, throughout the game, you'll be tasked with opening up different fruit doors to pick up collectibles or even to just advance through the level. In order to open these doors, you'll have to have collected the fruit that corresponds with the image on the door. Where the challenge is supposed to be in this situation, when you actually have to backtrack through a level to open a door with a fruit that you collected later in the level. This happens the most with the Galaxian maze doors. In theory, if you see a Galaxian door, you'll have to move on to complete a platforming task, grab the Galaxian, and then complete that same platforming task again in reverse. It's like double the challenge. Makes sense, right? The problem is, in some instances, a checkpoint will be located directly in front of the Galaxian door. Can you kind of see where I'm going with this now? You can pretty much just grab the Galaxian, and rather than platforming back to the door, you can just die and respawn right back at the door without losing the Galaxian, thereby skipping the backtracking element and entirely defeating the purpose of the challenge in the first place. These backtracking tasks actually show up annoyingly often. It's like the developers are saying, hey, you know that really annoying thing we just had you do? Yeah, wasn't that fun? Now do it 3 more times. Speaking of those Galaxian doors, hidden within each of these is a maze to play through. These are pretty neat as they're all unique to the themes of each world and sometimes include some added hazards from the worlds like lasers or fire. Later in the game when you make it to the factory in the Ghost Mansion world, some of these mazes will have more than the usual 4 ghosts chasing you around. It's a nice twist in the classic Pac-Man maze gameplay, and it's especially fun getting to play all of these mazes in order from the Galaxian sign in the hub world. I think the mazes definitely add some replayability to the game. I could totally see myself coming back to this game a few months after beating it just to play the mazes. They're fun. If you're going for all the Galaxians, chances are you're also going for all of the letters spread throughout the levels as well. If you're successful at gathering all of the letters to Pac-Man, you'll get a bonus level at the end of each stage, which is just an extra chance to collect more fruit and get a higher score. Now, I don't know about you, but I don't typically care about my score in 3D platforming games, which made me wonder whether it was actually worth it to go for 100% completion in this game, when the only things the collectibles seem to do is boost your score. So before I got too deep into this game, I looked up what the completion prize is, and guess what? It's a special key that opens up all of the fruit doors even if you don't have the corresponding fruit. Hold on a second. So what this means is basically your reward for collecting everything in the game is an item that would make it easier to go back through the game and collect everything again. Yeah, I think I'll pass on that. One score I do care about is my score in the original Pac-Man arcade game. My highest score ever is 134,380. Not too shabby if you ask me. Comment below what your best Pac-Man score is. I want to see if it's better than mine. As you're saving your friends and eating your fruits and exploring the different worlds, the game mechanics for moving through the game are fairly solid. This game to me feels like sort of a cross between 3D and 2D platforming. Pretty much all the levels have you progressing from left to right as you would in a 2D platformer. Some levels even have small portions that are closer to 2D platforming than 3D. This mixed style of 2D and 3D platforming causes the environments to feel less like the sprawling 3D sandboxes we've been able to explore in more modern platformers like Mario Odyssey and Ratchet & Clank, but that's okay because it helps the game maintain its nostalgic 1999 charm. This game isn't trying to be Mario Odyssey, it's better than Mario Odyssey. Okay, maybe it isn't better than Mario Odyssey, it is a remaster of a 1999 game. You can't expect it to do anything too revolutionary. Wait a minute, is Pac-Man bouncing? Holy shit, this game is definitely better than Mario Odyssey. Pac-Man has a simple yet effective variety of moves that he uses to traverse each world. He can in fact bounce, which is awesome. He can also do this thing called a rev roll where he just rolls at the enemies. It's used in a variety of ways, from moving certain platforms to damaging enemies and bosses. He can throw Pac dots, which is a pretty fun way to combat some of the game's enemies. He can also do this little Yoshi flutter kick in the air. I think this is more to help people who are new to platforming games because I never really found myself needing to use it for anything because I'm a platforming beast. I am a little too proud of that. Having played the Switch version, one of the natural questions is, does it run well? The only true glitch I ran into was actually kind of funny. Check out this clip where I'm controlling Pac-Man, but his model is just kind of frozen in place. I really don't know what is going on here or what triggers it, but it happened to me multiple times throughout my playthrough, and I laughed every single time. Some of you may be wondering why I chose to play the Switch version when I have a PS5 sitting in my living room. Because I'm stupid. One thing that I think this game absolutely nails is the boss battles. All of them have such unique mechanics that challenge you in different ways and never feel repetitive. I especially like the King Galaxian fight, which is like playing an arcade game of Galaga. It's nice that this game pays homage not just to Pac-Man, but Namco's other properties as well. There's also the clown racers in the circus world. I mean, look at these freaks. This entire boss fight is just a race against a bunch of clowns. It's basically Pac-Man World Rally. The final boss battle against Toc-man feels like a nice culmination of everything you learned throughout the game. He offers just enough challenge to be a worthy final boss. He has enough fantastical sequences that feel like a grand finale to the game, and he has a pretty cool character design. In this final boss fight against Toc-man, all of the friends you saved along the way will aid you in battle by giving you health when you're running low. The more friends you save throughout the game, the more lifelines you get. Wait a minute. Where have I seen this before? That's right, it's the Calamity Ganon fight in Breath of the Wild. For every divine beast you save, that's extra help you get in the battle against Calamity Ganon. So since Pac-Man World originally came out in 1999, it's safe to say that Pac-Man World did this first. Therefore, I think Breath of the Wild copied Pac-Man World. Does that make Pac-Man World better than Breath of the Wild? In my book, yes. Once you've platformed your way to the end of the game, eaten a bunch of fruit, and defeated every last boss, you'll be greeted by the ending of the story, which is admittedly very cute. The ghosts are just upset because no one ever roots for the ghosts, and despite the fact that they just falsely imprisoned every single one of Pac-Man's friends and family, Pac-Man decides to be the bigger man in this situation and forgives them and offers up a truce. We then see that Pac-Man got to have his birthday party after all, but this time all the ghosts were invited. Doesn't that just warm your heart? I cried during this scene. At the end of the day, you can finish this game in about 10 to 20 hours, depending on how diligent you are about it. But all this game is supposed to be is a nice nostalgia burst for the people who played it back in the day, and a simple 3D platforming experience for people who may have not played it before. It's only $30. That's not so bad. If you're on the fence about picking it up, I would say go for it. I had a pretty good time with this game. Now let's review everything we learned today. Number 1, Pac-Man World is better than Super Mario Odyssey. Number 2, Pac-Man World is better than The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild. And 3, Pac-Man cheated on his wife.